what's happening, y'all? Welcome into a brand new episode of Snaps with T-Bob Hebert and Aaron Murray. I am T-Bob. He is Aaron. What's up, bruh? It's a big day. Championship weekend on the horizon. We got to talk the games. Freaking Bobby Petrino returning to Arkansas. New CFP rankings, which will factor in to these conversations, obviously. What's up, Scurry Murray? How we feeling today?
Good, man. It is it's Wednesday, it's hump day. We are closer and closer to a great weekend of football. Don't forget Friday, Oregon, Washington, which we'll break down right now. And speaking of us, we are so close to 9K. Obviously, as you all know, 10K is the goal before the national championship. So if you're in the chat, obviously give your questions. We'd love to answer them throughout the show today. But like, subscribe, share with a friend, and let's keep this train rolling.
Yeah, man. Already got a ton of you in here. Shout out. Hit the share button if you want. As we begin today's show, I would like to say this. Beware of the eye test, okay? The eye test is based in hubris. It is based in pride. It is based in self-belief. And after much rumination, Aaron Murray, I have finally figured out where I stand. Now, I had to go into the swamp of Dagobah and really go internal and to, decide how I feel about all of this shit. But, remember Michigan and TCU last year? Mm-hmm. Who thought TCU was going to win that game? Fucking nobody. Mm-hmm. And look, we just don't know. Okay. And I swear to God, if Oregon loses this Friday, then I better never hear any of these bullshit arguments ever again. Here's the bottom line. I am now officially team FSU. If they win, they should be in full stop no matter what. I don't give a shit. Okay. I'm also officially now landed on Texas over Alabama. Okay. They won the head-to-head. Don't overthink it. It has to fucking matter. Did I waver? Did I need to engage in introspection? Yes. But again, if Oregon loses this weekend, fuck your eye test forever. Now, I just had to get that off the way, off the top. And let's be clear. Let's be clear. This is not to say that the eye test is not probably right, because you probably are. But that's the point, right? That's the entire point. Because at the end of the day, these are 18 to 26-year-old kids full of variables and full of unpredictability. And maybe, okay, the exact example, the 4th and 3 before half in Washington, Oregon earlier this year, where they went for it and Oregon had gained 3 yards on like 80% of their plays. They've gained 3 yards on 80% of their plays. And yet back-to-back plays, they couldn't get it. Mathematically unlikely. And yet that shit happened. And so that's the point, right? Fuck your eye test. Let's play some football. All right.
Wow. Love it. Love it. I posed this last night. I'd like to get your thoughts on this. If Florida State does win, undefeated, Georgia, let's just say Georgia, Michigan. This is hypothetical.
No, there's no scenario that Florida State doesn't get in my mind if they win.
No, I'm not saying they don't get in. Just let me ask the damn question.
I'm running hot.
Let me just answer. I know you're like Pollock yesterday after getting off his workout. If you haven't seen that, go watch it. Great job. You're a great show yesterday sitting down with David Pollock. But Georgia, Michigan, 1-2, boom, they're in. Florida State wins. Oregon beats Washington.
Yeah.
Should Florida State be 3? Florida State's in. I'm with you. Florida State deserves to be in. But would Oregon, a one-loss Oregon because of the eyeball test?
No, that's good. I don't give a fuck about seeding. If we want to decide seeding,
seeding makes a big deal.
No, seeding makes a difference, but I'm not going to go to bat for that. I'm not going to go die on that hill.
You wouldn't die for that. If Florida State stayed at 4, they put Oregon at 3.
No. I don't give a shit about that. I don't give a shit about that. I don't care about seeding. I care about opportunity. And we're going to get to Oregon, Washington, because that's already pissed me off. But let's start with the big boy going down in Atlanta this Saturday. SEC championship, UGA versus Alabama. What can we say about this game that hasn't already been said? Well, how about this? Let's be painfully clear about this. This is the moment for Kirby Smart to prove once and for all that he has taken over, right? I keep going back to the scene in the original Star Wars ever released, A New Hope, 1977, when Darth Vader confronts Obi-Wan on the Death Star. And what does he say? The circle is now complete. When I left you, I was but the learner. Now I am the master. Of course, Obi-Wan responds, only a master of evil, Darth. Your powers are weak, old man. You can't win, Darth. If you strike me down, I'll become more powerful than you could possibly imagine. You should not have come back. I mean, we gonna find out, right? Is the circle actually complete? Is this a reality in which Darth does supplant his old master, does end up winning? And it certainly feels like it, but he's gonna have to go finish that thing, dude. It's again, I've said it. The most amazing thing Kirby did was build this empire while not only, and Jake Hester made this point, while not only Alabama was dominant, but while Clemson was dominant as well.
Yep.
To somehow, with enemy empires on both sides of him, to somehow manage to suck up whatever leftover oxygen was left in the room and create what he has done now is nothing short of astounding. But if he loses Saturday, it basically all goes out the window, right? All of Pollock's takes about Kirby being clearly better than Saban are wrong. All of our takes about Alabama and the Saban Empire being dead are wrong. I mean, there's a ton on the line narratively this weekend.
All right, first, everyone in the chat, T-Bob doesn't have shingles anymore, so we don't need to pump up his ego right now. There's a lot of, I don't know why everyone's trying to make T-Bob feel better about life.
Got a fresh haircut, dog. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
look at your boy.
Whatever. Interesting stat that Conor O'Gara just put out there. Alabama lost the 2008 SEC championship game to eventual national champ Florida. Since then, Alabama and Atlanta, this obviously includes SEC championship games, other games in the city. Alabama has gone 16-0, 8-0 versus top 10 teams, 7-0 versus top 5 teams, and then won 12 of those 16 games by double digits. Wow. Georgia also 0-3, 0-3 in Atlanta versus Georgia. Yeah, it is. And this is I'm not going to put like an asterisk by that national championship, but there's always the excuse from Alabama fans of we weren't healthy. We beat the crap out of you in Atlanta. We lost our two of our best players at the receiving position. You guys ended up winning national championship. Injuries are part of the game. They are it's usually the healthier elite team by the end of the season is the team that's going to win a championship. And both these teams right now have some issues with health. Georgia more so on the offensive side of the football. Alabama's a little bit banged up on defense. Injuries are a part of the game. So I'm not trying to create a ton of excuses of why Alabama lost the last time these two teams faced each other in Indianapolis. But I think in Alabama's mind, that is part of the reason, we are still Alabama. This is still Nick Saban. We still believe that we have more talent. We have a more talented roster, which according to, the blue chip ratio, they do. So they're not scared of Georgia. This isn't for a decade plus when teams went in the face Alabama, including Georgia, the narrative was it's Alabama, it's Nick Saban, it's Alabama, it's Nick Saban. You should be scared of them. You should be scared of the Crimson Tide helmets across the way from you. I don't think Alabama's scared of Georgia. There isn't Alabama feels like they're looking up the mountain to Georgia, where we may say hey, Georgia's the king of the mountain. I don't think Alabama views it the same way as we do.
So that's a great point you're making, because I would actually extend it both ways. I think literally every other team, save for maybe 2 or 3, fear each of these teams when they play them, right? Literally all other 130, however many teams are scared when they play Georgia or are scared when they play Alabama. And these two matching up with each other may be the actually the only time in which neither side fears the other. So you're right. You are getting two of the best dynasties in college football now going toe-to-toe, no fear in their heart, relatively even, though I give the nod to Georgia. What a fantastic setting.
No, and they are pretty dang equal. They're different on offense. Georgia is more of a pro-style offense and what they want to execute. Running the football, your traditional run, zone. They do a great job with the gap power. Carson is tremendous with getting the ball out to different receivers. So we're going to see, I think Nick Saban was asked this question this week, it has been rare this season that Georgia's had both Brock Bowers and Ladd McConkey healthy during a football game. And when they have, the offense has been just oh my God, one of the best in the country. Are they healthy heading into this game? I would think that they were given last week off so that they could be as close to 100% heading into this game as they possibly could be. But, those two and Oscar's played well at tight end and Rara and Dom and the list goes on and on and on. Like, this offense is so multiple in ways they can beat you and kind of methodically move the ball down the field.
Yeah.
Obviously Carson has the ability to, hit that 25-yard, crossing route or dagger route as well, where Alabama is different. Like, this is truly a feast or famine offense. It is we can create an explosive play down the field with Jalen kind of just heaving it to one of our receivers, or hey, Milroe, run around and find a way to be creative with your legs. Like, very different, both very good. But like you said, I would still give the nod a little bit to what Georgia can do, because I think going against elite defenses, you trust what Georgia does a little bit more than necessarily what Alabama does on offense.
Well, Alabama is more of a college offense. Georgia's more of a pro offense, stylistically, but also in terms of execution. Like you said, like Carson Beck's thing that I've been most impressed with this year is his spreading of the ball, trying to take advantage of all the weapons, not falling into any one thing. Whereas Alabama's success has been much more singular, much more haphazard, and much more explosive. And like obviously, that's why I give Georgia the advantage. Because the defense is like, you can tell me that if you want to sell me that Alabama's a hair better defensively, I'd say yeah. If you want to tell me that Georgia's a hair better defensively, I say yeah. But that's pretty much a wash on that side of the ball. If I wanted to try to craft an argument for Alabama, I think maybe you could say something about like Jalen Milroe's maybe a bit more proven in a dogfight. Like, has Carson Beck really been bloody? Help me out here.
Carson's been bloody.
No, but has Carson Beck stared down 80 yards and like you lose if you don't get it, you win if you do? Not that has Milroe either this year, though, to be fair?
Milroe had the 4th and 31 last week versus Auburn.
Yeah, no. Well, I know, but that's but again, that's like a haphazard singular thing, right? It's not, but whatever. Milroe did have to stare that down into the gaping maw of death and say, not today. Carson hasn't quite been pushed to that extent. He's been in some fist fights. He's passed some tests, but this will be his greatest one yet, to be sure.
Well, and I think, and obviously LSU's defense is horrendous. We've been over the numbers plenty this year, but like Milroe at least went into that game knowing that this could be a shootout and I have to find a way to score points and I have to be effective. And he was, regardless of what you want to say about LSU's defense, you still have to go out there as an offense and as a quarterback and still execute and make plays. And he did, one of the better games I've seen from an SEC quarterback this season of not only with his arm, but with his legs. In critical situations, like 3rd and long situations, he somehow finds a way to beat you over and over and over again. So like facing the barrel of a gun, who has had more opportunities to kind of prove themselves, like you give the advantage to Milroe this season. Is that good? Is that bad? You can maybe say it's good heading into a game like this, but I also think you kind of maybe look at it and say, maybe that's the prove it moment of
your worst team.
It's why Georgia's the better football team.
Thing, right? It's like, Oregon hasn't been as many dogfights, so let's prove him, but they haven't been any dogfights because they're beating the hell out of teams. Yeah.
So I think you could look at it like that too. So
this is for me. I just
neither
keep going
team.
Back.
I'll say this real quick. Neither team, besides Alabama facing Texas, and we saw how that game went. But Jalen has definitely grown since then. Neither team has faced a defense like they're going to face on Saturday. Not even close. Not even close.
Yeah, correct. So yes, that's a great point. I think too that this is Carson Beck's moment, right? That everything to this, as unfair as this is, but when you take over a championship program and championships are what are expected, this is just the realities of the world in which you're going to live. But everything to this has just been table setting. It's been preamble. It's been the previews. This is the movie. This is the actual show. This is where you prove people like me wrong, who had the very easy take of like, well, it's going to roll through the rig. Like I just hand waved away him throwing, even preseason. I hand waved away his amazing stats that he had this year. I said he's going to have, which is like kind of a shitty thing to do. Now, I'm not saying it's incorrect, but it's kind of a shitty thing to do, right? Well, I hand waved it all away and I said, but what's he going to do when it actually gets hard, when it's on the line? Well, this is it. This is it, Carson. And are you up to standing up to this moment, because if you win this game, and especially if you win it convincingly, well, then nothing else can be said, and you garner massive momentum going into these playoffs as you try to do something that's never been done before, win a third national championship in a row. I cannot wait to watch Carson Beck and just how shaky and or unshaky he looks come Saturday.
I want to get to the chat real quick. Brad Bush goes, how does Bama match up well against Georgia? Explain, don't just say it, laugh out loud.
They're the best.
I think I said this, middle of the season, I think Alabama was the best defense in the country. You have two edge rushers that can get after you, that can win those one-on-one matchups, and you have legitimately possibly two first-round corners on the outside. Like,
they're the best secondary in the country. They're the highest graded secondary according to PFF. Like you said, the front seven leads the SEC in like sacks and TFLs.
It's a great defense. It's a really good defense. Like that's how you match up. You play great defense, which has allowed their offense to be this feast or famine offense, where it's like I can, play a subpar game and then all of a sudden throw a 70-yard touchdown, and we're right in it because guess what? Our defense isn't going to give a bunch of points where we have to claw out of it necessarily consistently.
I mean, look at what they did to Ole Miss, right? Losing 7-6 at half. Ole Miss doesn't score again. They were losing 20-7.
Ole Miss didn't have all their top 2 or 3 weapons weren't even healthy for Ole Miss. Like that's a game where I'm kind of hesitant to look at because they were banged up. Jackson Dart had no weapons in that game.
Okay, well, Alabama's defense completely shut down Tennessee in the second half. Alabama's defense literally murdered Jaden Daniels. They said, "Oh, we can't stop him. We'll just kill him." Like, I mean, that's on the table for Carson Beck. You think Dallas Turner ain't come for that head?
Oh yeah.
You think he ain't trying to fuck him up? Like that's on the table here. They would love for Brock Vandagriff or Gunnar Stockton to have to step in under center.
Yeah, and I'm sure Georgia would love to have those other 2 quarterbacks for Alabama step up too.
Yeah, but you got to but Milroe, you got to catch Milroe, and you got to hit him.
And then that's the matchup for the other side for I believe it was Brad in the chat. It's Milroe's legs. And, I think Georgia fans should have faith in the DBs for Georgia. Kamari's been great, Tyke's been great, the safeties have been tremendous. But man, like Georgia's inability to consistently get after the quarterback is in that's the dilemma.
Do they want to though? Because they don't add to the rush, right?
Yes. Do you want to? Like Pollock did a great job yesterday of talking about how to rush a quarterback like Milroe. Well, the problem with rushing a quarterback like that is you give him time in the pocket. If you give him 4 or 5 seconds and you add 1 or 2 more seconds, if he's able to run around, I don't care how good you are in the back end. That's a long time for DBs to be able to man up.
It's kind of interesting. I do think Georgia's kind of base style is perfect for playing against Milroe because they're used to already not adding guys and having like kind of a disciplined rush and playing defense on the back end, and they could just continue to do that. Like for a while there, we used to think
I agree. I think they're the best suited to stop them. I'm just saying it's still a problem though. It's still a problem.
Well, but then that's just Milroe's going to be a problem for anybody, because of athleticism, 100%. Right? So I still think within that context that Georgia maybe matches up best. All right, pick time. Who wins? I think Georgia again. I think they are better. I think and look, William Anthony says I would not be surprised if Saban's been slowly game planning here and there for Kirby. Saban is an Obi-Wan. He's the emperor. Fair, but again, this is the circle is now complete moment, right? Don't get too married to the characters here. When I left you, I was but the learner. Now I am the master, right? Your powers are weak, old man. You should not have come back. Does Kirby prove that this weekend? I think he does. Give me the dogs.
Connor makes a good point. It doesn't matter who spies him. Milroe will get his. We talked about that yesterday too. Like it takes all 5 or 6 guys in the box. It takes disciplined rush lanes. It takes a linebacker or a spy. If it's a safety, it takes all of them. Because if he does split, that spy ain't going to get him one-on-one in the open field. So good point there. As we, once again, we discussed that a little bit yesterday with Pollock.
Just do what LSU did. Don't spy.
Yeah, don't spy. Don't do that. Just make sure you're disciplined in your rushing and spy. You have to do both.
Just drop against a guy like that. 15 yards deep, quarters coverage.
Don't do that. Don't do that. Auburn proved you can't do that either. He's just really good, man. Just straight up, he's a great athlete. Georgia wins. I think it's a close game, though. I think the line's moved up to like 6.5. We'll talk to Colin about that tomorrow and get his thoughts on it. I think this is 2 maybe of the best teams in America. I think you're going to get their best punches on Saturday. I think Georgia wins by like a field goal. It's a 4-quarter. It's going to be a ball game. It definitely ain't going to be the embarrassment that LSU kind of showed up with last year in the SEC championship game. That's for damn sure. So, dogs by a slight margin.
Jake Hudson, careful the Star Wars. T-Bob, Vader died at the end. Again, guys, don't get married to the characters. It's the narrative arcs here. All right, let's talk Oregon, Washington. What and before we get to the game itself, I got to be completely honest. I'm so biased here for multiple reasons. First off, I've wanted Washington to win all year long. Second off, I just I hate how Oregon's being treated right now. They by far have the worst resume out of Alabama, Texas, Ohio State, and Oregon, and yet they're getting all of the love. It's ridiculous. And then thirdly, I'm having a bit of PTSD. Okay, I am someone who was a member of a team that played a tough in 2011, right? We beat Alabama in the regular season. We lose a national championship. We played a harder schedule. We played in the SEC championship. We did all this stuff more, and yet they got put back in just because. Washington's in the exact same fucking spot. They won the Pac-12 regular season going undefeated. They played a tougher schedule. They beat the next top 5 finishers in the Pac-12, the top 5 teams in the conference. They got 2 more quad 1 wins than does Oregon. Their resume is just flat out better, and yet none of it matters if Oregon wins, right?
No,
Fuck it all.
no,
Oregon suffers no consequences for losing the regular season. If Oregon wins, they get to compete for a championship. Washington gets home, despite the fact that a tougher road and it's 1-1, and Oregon's coming off an extra day of rest. Playing on Friday last week to Friday this week. Washington playing Saturday. I mean, it just pisses me off. And I know everyone will just say tough shit, and I get it. And thankfully, in a 12-team playoff, Washington would still be right there, get a chance to compete for championships, right? But it's making me fucking legitimately angry on this day. And so I hope Washington shoves it up everybody's eye, and they can take their eye test and finally, for the 3rd time in a row, beat the Ducks and just shut everyone the hell up.
You tell them, T-Bob. I listen, I'm frustrated too where Oregon is seated right now. And Texas and Alabama both have better resumes. Yet Oregon is ranked where they're ranked ahead of them. It's and the one example is like, oh, they took care of business for Oregon State last week. Like, that's their one big win this season. They should not be ranked where they are. Obviously, if they beat Washington, then you can maybe have the conversation. But still, that's a whole thing about the rankings. We talked about that last night. But yeah, they're getting a lot of love for the eye test. Straight up, that's it. That is the only reason why. And they played a close game and a close loss to Washington.
How about this? If anybody's like, well, okay, explain it then. Okay. As football moves to a more tournament setting, it's going to start to sound more like basketball when we get into the 12-team playoff, where we talk about quad 1, stuff like that, right? So if you look at top 35 wins, you want to call it a quad 1 win. Alabama, and remember, the context of this is Oregon is ranked ahead of all these teams.
Yep.
Alabama has 5. Texas has 5. Ohio State and Oregon have 3. Wins versus bowl eligible teams. Alabama has 7. Texas has 7. Ohio State has 6. Oregon has 5. Wins against Power 5 teams with winning records. Alabama has 5. Texas has 4. Ohio State has 4. Oregon has 3. Miss me with that bullshit. That's also why Texas should go over Alabama if it comes down to them both being 1-loss conference champions.
I agree.
Because their resumes are equivalent and they won the head-to-head. And so I don't give a shit who you think is better. And again, it sucks because I think Oregon's probably going to win. And that's what makes me so angry about all of this is I kind of do think they're the better team. They're probably going to win and they're going to be rewarded just because we have created a flawed system.
Yep. They should not go in over Texas. They should not go in over Alabama, but it is what it is. All right, let's get back to this game real quick. The interesting stat on this one, or stats, I'll say this, is Michael Penix's second half of the season. And you just go look at the game log, and I'm going to do it real quick. So we'll do the first, the entire season. We'll start with Boise, 72% completion, then 73, then 77, then 76, then 75. So, I mean, he's a plus 70% completion through those first 5 games of the season. Then all of a sudden you face Oregon, 59%. You get it. Good defense. But then since that Oregon game, he's been 64, 56, 73 versus USC, who's terrible, 57 versus Utah, 46 versus Oregon State, rainy game, and then 54 versus Washington State. Where's the Penix magic gone? He went from
but that's bullshit though.
Why?
Because the volume and the play-to-play success has gone. That's why he's not going to win the Heisman, right? Because he's not overwhelming anymore. But
I don't know. There's still saying
bro,
that he's going to win if he has a big game this week.
The magic
for 6 games he's not been completing it. I mean, it's crazy.
Okay, well, if he does win it, it's because the magic is that he makes the plays to win the game. Remember him freestyling on the sideline against Oregon, freestyling about how they're going to win the game, and they goes out and does it.
Or maybe it's just because they're a better team than the rest of the teams they faced since Oregon. Like, they're a better football team than everyone else they played.
Again, you still got to win those games. Better teams lose all the time.
I get it. I'm just saying, like, he's not playing anywhere near the level of play that he was playing the first half of the season.
What I'm saying is, though, that motherfucker knows what to do in high-pressure situations. Bo Nix does not. Bo Nix has never proven that. Bo Nix has proven to be a front-runner quarterback. Bo Nix has failed when he's had the opportunity to go. Well, I guess he had a couple big wins at Auburn. That is true.
Yes.
But Bo Nix in the big moments against Washington earlier this year failed. And guess what, Nix? You got a get out of jail free card. Okay. You got a perfect opportunity to go try and right all the wrongs, all the plays that had haunted you from that first game. Let's see if you can do it.
Big moment for him. You win.
I mean, that's how I craft the argument, because Oregon is better, whatever, right?
Yes.
Like just from a talent standpoint, etc. But Kalen DeBoer is far more experienced than Dan Lanning, just overall, and especially when it comes to winning big games and championships on a lower level, but you're still beating your peers. And Michael Penix Jr. is far more proven in the dangerous moments, the big nuts moments. And
Oregon needs to get to a big start.
That's how I craft Washington to win.
Or Washington came out with the early blows the first time, and Oregon kind of settled in, dealing with the crowd noise. Like, now you're not having to go on the road. This is a neutral site game in Vegas, 50-50 crowd split. I don't know what's going to be, but still, like, you're not fighting the elements. You get to show up and play ball. So for Oregon, the key is, to me, I think, can you just get off to that early? Can you create that lead? Vegas has this like a 9.5 point spread. Can you get to that early lead where you don't have to put Bo Nix in a situation to have to be Superman, which I think he can. Like, I think he's played enough football games and he's shown me enough where, I feel pretty good with him. But, I would still say, like, yeah, Washington's a team that is a little bit better suited to come back. They have the elite quarterback.
Yeah.
They have the elite receivers. They have guys that
can win one-on-one matchups.
They're more explosive. They're more explosive. Like, Oregon isn't that offense. They can be, but they would rather not be like that. So can Oregon methodically move the ball down the field, get some early stops, and take that early lead? If they can hold on, if they can get that early lead in the first half, I feel confident with that defense and the way they can run the football that they would kind of hold that through the second half.
So, I mean, I'm choosing Washington.
Just for principle alone.
Just
because you've had them all year.
Ride or die. Go Huskies. I'm just feeling like a very canine today, I guess you could say. Dogs on top on the East and West Coast.
I always talk about what has given the best defense for the past 2 years the most trouble. I'm Georgia. And I talked about this yesterday. It's offenses with those type of weapons that Washington has with an elite quarterback. Those guys at any moment can go off. And I like Oregon's defense. I think they're fantastic. Dan Lanning has done wonders in year 2 there on that side of the football. But man, when you got Odunze and Polk and McMillan and a quarterback that is capable of, like Michael Penix Jr., of having a 400-yard, 5-touchdown game, it worries me. It should worry Oregon too in this matchup. So I think Oregon is a little bit more balanced. I think Oregon wins the game, but like, I think it's going to be a lot closer than the 9.5 number that Vegas has it at.
We will see. I'm excited. Little Friday night. And I'm yeah. I was sorry. I was going to do a programming tease, but we haven't talked about it yet. So we'll figure out exactly what we're going to do all throughout the weekend. All right. Next on the list, we head to the Big Ten. Michigan versus Iowa. And I'm here to do it, boys. The first and only person to tell you the truth about this Big Ten championship game. If you've been watching closely, you will know that J.J. McCarthy kind of sucks now, okay? If you've been watching closely, you will know that Iowa's defense is fucking incredible. And the bottom line is you don't get into a rock fight with a golem, and Michigan's got a rock fight on their hand. Iowa's going to force Michigan to play their style. They're going to beat them. Michigan officially on upset alert.
Do you want to correct your statement?
Nah. Just
Okay.
clip that and let's just send it out so that Michigan people give us clicks and views.
Yeah,
No, I mean Michigan's going to win this game. I don't know.
yeah.
Um,
The only over under Iowa crossing the 50-yard line 3 times.
I think I read that Iowa scored like 11 touchdowns in 9 Big Ten games. So I think I'm kind of going.
More likely to
kind of
score a
going under.
touchdown. I wonder if there's a Vegas odds on this. More likely to score a touchdown, Iowa's defense or Iowa's offense? Probably Iowa's defense.
I would. Okay, so I know like mathematically it would be the offense. I would bet the defense just because like the odds, just because the juice. If there was ever a team that would be the case, it would be Iowa. I mean, look, I would love to come up with a way that Iowa does win this game, and I love the Iowa defense. Now, being without Cooper DeJean is a massive loss for them. But it goes, and granted, I've said this at times before this year and been wrong, right? Like Georgia, Mizzou, I expected Georgia to handle Mizzou because I'm like, where does Mizzou have the advantage, right? But for real though,
Mizzou had plenty. They had one of the best receivers in the country. They have a hot quarterback, a hot running back. Like there's.
But you would still. I mean, you would take Luther Burden and Cody Schrader maybe as single guys, but you wouldn't take Carson Beck, and you would take the position groups of Georgia and of Georgia over Mizzou in both cases.
Yeah, but they have individual players that could make plays. Like that's what I'm talking about. Like they have that individual guy that can go out there and create.
You're fucking dude. This is not about Georgia. Shut the fuck up. All I'm saying is when I made this statement in the past. Yeah, but now you're leaning into it too much. Be quiet. When I made this statement in the past, I've been wrong. But again, I do struggle to see not only where's the advantage for Iowa, but in a season where we've tested weakest for strongest link, Iowa, it's like the LSU, they just have such a weak link. A weak link. And the same way that LSU could not overcome their defense, Iowa will not be able to overcome their offense.
I think this is a game that's going to last about 2 hours and 45 minutes. Michigan, hardball's back, boys and girls. So, like, I don't think there's any style points to be needed. I think they know that they have win and they're the number 2 seed, lose, and they're out. So they're not moving up to 1. Like there's no style points needed. I think Jim Harbaugh wants to get in, get out, win the football game, and get ready for the first round of the playoffs. So I don't think this is going to be a high scoring game. Obviously, I think Michigan scores 24 points. Iowa scores no points. It's 24-0, and 2 hours and 45 minutes, and you can get on to the next football game.
It's going to be boring.
It's going to be boring. It's going to be a lot of running. This could be a game like Michigan versus Penn State, where JJ throws the ball at max maybe 10 times. I don't see them trying to flex at all.
Yeah. So again, if you're Iowa, you can't tell me that you have a weakness as glaring as the offense, and you're missing arguably your best player on defense, your strongest side of the ball, and still beat Michigan. Like it would take. Let's be clear. It would be first off the ultimate Kirk Ferentz crown jewel if he somehow pulled this off, and it would be a choke job. Actually, for Michigan, it would kind of be a choke job on the level of losing to TCU last year. I mean, so I guess we have seen it be like
worse.
It'd be worse.
It would be worse.
This would be worse.
That's this would be worse.
No, you're right.
Because at least TCU had like a Heisman finalist quarterback and a first round.
They had a great NFL receiver. Yeah. That's true.
Yeah. I would be embarrassed if Iowa scores a touchdown in this game. Like I would be shocked.
Well, look, Goat Dog says Iowa wins with 2 pick sixes. There you go, dude.
Offensive touchdowns.
Iowa defense is plus 1,400 to score a touchdown this weekend, says Chris Tran. And
Penn State scored 31 points. This is going to be similar games like what Penn State shut them out, 31-0?
Yeah, that was real long time ago, though. But yes, I mean,
Iowa gotten better since then?
No, I guess they've just kind of like, done what they do the entire season. I do know this. I'm betting the under. Always and forever.
What is the under?
I think it's like 34.5, somewhere around there.
Oh, yeah.
Michigan's juicing up. That's an easy hit. That's an easy hit, boys.
Easy one.
If you didn't ride the 24.5 beauty that was last week's under, you missed out, bud. May never happen again as long as we're alive. All right. Let's get into a couple more of these conference championships. But first, where should you be placing those bets? about the DraftKings Sportsbook app? Can you believe that we're this deep in the NFL season? Well, check it out. We got to make every second count. And with the DraftKings Sportsbook app, you can make the most out of every game day. You can bet on your favorite teams for a shot at winning big bucks. And right now, new customers can score $150 instantly in bonus bets for betting just $5 on any NFL matchup. That's right. Any NFL matchup right now, $5, you get $150 instantly in bonus bets. You want to bet your hometown team, you want to bet away team, it's all there for you. And remember, if you're returning customers, always great game day deals and boosts and offers going down on the DraftKings app. And you can always do your multi-game or same-game parlay. So get in on the action with the DraftKings Sportsbook, an official sports betting partner of the NFL. You download the app now. Use the code T-Bob. Okay, if you're a new customer, TBOB, new customers, $150 instantly in bonus bets for betting just $5 on the NFL. Only on DraftKings Sportsbook with code T-Bob. The crown is yours. All right, y'all, let's head over to Big 12 country, Texas versus Oklahoma State. Look, let's be painfully clear. Texas absolutely should win this game.
Yep.
The better team. Oklahoma State's crafty. It's unreal that they've ended up here after how this season started, getting their ass whipped by South Alabama and everything else. Ollie Gordon should maybe win the Doak Walker for best running back in the entire country. But guess what? Texas is incredible at doing, elite at doing, stopping the run.
Mm-hmm.
They're the only team by a country mile or a Texas mile that holds teams under 100 yards rushing. How about this, Aaron Murray? You look at rush defense in the Big 12. Texas gives up 85 yards a game. Iowa State is second at 131. Texas, the only team in the Big 12 that allows sub 3 yards a carry, 2.93. The only team that hasn't allowed double-digit rushing touchdowns, only given up 7. Again, what Oklahoma State wants to do, Texas is elite at stopping it. They have way more playmakers. They're better in the trenches on both sides of the ball. Texas, this is your moment. Do not fuck it up. You should absolutely win this weekend.
You should dominate this football game. I mean,
Yes.
just absolutely dominate. I mean, they flip it over just to the other side. Oklahoma State defensively is horrendous. They're the bottom half of, both rush defense and pass defense in the Big 12. Like, I don't see them slowing down Texas's offense at all. And when you're that one-dimensional, like we talk about matchups, it's all about matchups. Where's your strength versus our weakness? Texas's strength this entire season has been their rush defense, like you alluded to. Like, if you can't run the football, you better find your way to pass it. And Alan Bowman has been a guy that 10 touchdowns, 11 interceptions this season. They just don't have the weapons on the outside. They don't have the quarterback to make it happen. This is an offense that they have to run the football 30 times a game and to get 200 yards to win a game like this. And that's just, unless Texas just completely folds up front with their front seven, which I don't anticipate that happening, Texas is going to roll in this football game. And we talked about it earlier with Oregon. If Oregon wins, there's a good feeling based on the fact that they've been ahead of Texas and Alabama in the polls that Oregon would move in to the 4 as one of the 4 teams. I think Texas is looking at this as like, we have to win, and we have to win with style points.
Yeah, I think so too.
They got to win big. So I think the message
true.
in that locker room is like, boys, we put our foot on their throat and we ain't stopping. This isn't a, hey guys, we dominated in the first half, and we've seen games this year from Texas where they kind of fall apart in the second half. The team comes back. Texas finds a way to win by 3 points. This ain't that type of football game. This is a game where I think Sark says, boys, you're playing all 4 quarters. D-line, you better put your big boy pants on, and we have to win this game by 40 points. Like, we have to make a statement to the committee that we deserve one of those final 4 spots. So, and I think you're going to get that. I think you're going to get a dominant performance from Texas this weekend.
Yeah, and you got to have it. And
Yep.
kind of what you touched on, it's interesting that it comes at a time when you've been kind of struggling to find them for some of the latter half of the season. Now, one of the most impressive parts to me about Texas this year is that they did survive losing Quinn Ewers in the manner that they did. I think that really battle-hardened them. It makes them a little salty. Texas Rock says T-Bob looks like he smells like cabbage. Look, Texas fans, I will take all of your stones. I am you're Jesus. Okay. I told you the hard truths, and like the Pharisees and the Sadducees, you've stoned me to death just because I wanted you to be at your best. Okay. And now you finally have arrived here. Now, this is the deal though. Why has everybody clowned you in years recent? Because generally this is when Texas finds a way to fuck it up. Not this year. Okay. Do it for Bevo, do it for Sark, do it for 6th Street, do it for all those poor kids that went to UT that had to struggle to get by just to be there. All my silver spoon brethren, they deserve this. They deserve this. All those rich kids in their tight jeans and ostrich leather boots in the crowd. What would they do? They have nothing to live for if they don't get this win. No, look, I think Texas proved me wrong. In all seriousness, to be please. Texas proved me very wrong in every way this year. They were consistent. They survived injury. They won the big game. And this is just the final piece. And what's really gonna suck is if they get left out in favor of Oregon when they deserve it. Like when they would deserve to be in there. And that would just,
there's no way they jump Oregon.
That would make me angry.
There's no way
that
they
would
jump
make
Oregon.
me angry.
No single way they'll jump Oregon. Oregon's in. Stupid. Fucking stupid. Hook 'em, baby. Hook 'em. Let's go.
I don't know if I can go so far as say hook 'em, but I'm proud of you, Texas. You done proved me wrong, son. Now go out there and get him, you know? I'm like the asshole coach in Sing 2 who's secretly proud of Johnny at the end when he nails the dance. I don't think anybody knows what I'm talking about. All right, let's finally get to Louisville and FSU. We saved it for last because there's kind of the least to say about this game. I mean, no, I'm not saying there's not a ton of line, Brett.
It could be the most competitive game. It's the third most competitive game. I mean, Vegas-wise, it's the most competitive game that's supposed to happen.
That's true. Smallest brands, but the biggest. But yeah, the yes, like you're saying, the one that has the most potential for chaos. Oh, by the way, so I think Texas wins. You think Texas wins, right?
Yes.
Okay.
Texas wins by like 20.
I think for Louisville last week, I think there was a classic look ahead spot. I'm not dinging them too hard for losing to Kentucky. Now it's your arch rival, so it's, pick it up. But still, this has been a great year for Braum and everything. Louisville's going to bring it. Like, I don't think they're going to have some sort of hangover from Kentucky. The question now is, can Tate Rodemaker write his name into legend? Like Cardell Jones, did Tate Rodemaker come here to play football or did he come here to play school? Okay. We're going to learn the answer this Saturday. Can he get his team into that Final Four?
I'm going to say no. I think Louisville wins this football game. I think Louisville, you look at what they can do defensively, stopping the rush. Go back to like last week's game. I went back and watched the game versus Kentucky, and I was expecting like this explosion of offense for 4 quarters for Kentucky, and it was far from that. Like Louisville's defense made it really difficult, and Kentucky had to scheme open some pretty open receivers and benefited from some turnovers. I think that's going to be the big issue for Louisville. Like if you don't give up the football, which has been a bit of a problem for Plummer at times this season. I think he's double digits in turnovers right now. I think your defense is good enough to one, make Florida State one-dimensional and possibly keep them, under 21 points, keep them under 20 points. So, can Rodemaker, who was not asked to do a ton last week versus Florida, was that a moment where he kind of got his feet wet and he's ready to go right now? I don't still trust him. I'm sorry. Like this kid's making his second career start this season, going against, I would still say, a pretty darn good defense in Louisville, and a defense that's going to make you one-dimensional. So I think Plummer too, flipping over to the other side, T, while he has turned the ball over at times this year, I think he's a pretty good quarterback. I think he can make all the throws you want. And it's not like Florida State's secondary necessarily scares me. If Louisville can protect up front, if they can get going with the running game, which they get a pretty good running back there.
I mean, Florida State secondary is pretty salty, no? I mean, at least statistically, they've been great all year. They're third in the conference.
They haven't really faced a legit passing attack, so I don't know. I'm just saying, like I think Plummer can have a day. I do. I think Plummer can go out there and have himself a day. I think big advantage Florida State's quarterback over what FSU has.
That's fair, but I think FSU has the advantages everywhere else. I'd take them on both lines of scrimmage. I still like the playmakers. Like if Rodemaker needs somebody to fall back on, having Keon Coleman. And is Johnny Wilson healthy this game? I believe he's back, but having Johnny Wilson and Keon Coleman on the outside, Travis Benson coming into his own now that he's being relied upon more. I think Florida State wins this game. It's been a nice little season for Louisville, but I think I see a Seminole team that is galvanized right now, that is rallying around the adversity that they have been hit with here. A great little seasoning game for Tate Rodemaker against Florida last week, going down 12-0, finding a way to come back and win. This is a team that's been fighting and scratching and clawing since they started 3-3 last year, won 7 in a row. Now won 12 more in a row, okay? So they're going to make it 20-0 this weekend when they square up with Louisville. Give me the Noles. Rodemaker came here to play football, not school.
Louisville, #1 rush defense in the ACC. Just throwing it out there. Someone goes, oh, LSU not a legit passing offense. What I do remember from that game versus LSU is Jaden still had a pretty big game throwing the football, 346 yards.
Also that was
a couple of drops.
Yeah, and that was also an LSU offense that wasn't nearly as good as the one you're seeing now.
No,
they really hit another level during this year, but whatever. But again, you could say the same thing about the Noles defense. Maybe look, I'll take Seminoles. I think they're more talented. All right,
Louisville wins it.
That will do it for today's Snap. Huge shout out to everyone hanging out in the chat right now live. If you please like the post, subscribe to the channel if you enjoy it. We are tickling 9K, and then the road to 10K is almost complete. If you're listening on podcast or interview it, we love you. We will be seeing you throughout the next few days and the weekend, championship weekend reaction shows coming your way. Keep it locked right here, youtube.com/@volumesnaps.